Today is the day. I feel it. I feel like this is the perfect day to finally get something done around this place. Last time I tried to make this video, didn't work out in my favor. Problems left and right. But thankfully, because I had those problems, it allowed me to fix some mistakes I made, so that way I can actually have a better result. So today we are again going to test the back pressure or the drive pressure of Buster's stock HPP turbo, aka Ford Performance Turbo. Now, something I've kind of thought about, and I guess it would technically be more correct to say that drive pressure is the pressure I'm measuring here between the cylinder head and the turbine. Back pressure is anything past the turbine down the exhaust stream. So theoretically, I guess I am measuring drive pressure, but it is a form of back pressure. But I think the correct term is drive pressure. So there's that. Secondly, if you take a very close look, you can see that things look a little different than they did. I realized that threading anything in a high pressure, high heat scenario like that with like minimal threads to work with, like I'm talking about maybe 3 or 4 threads to actually bite onto the fitting, was not going to work. Ford learned that a long time ago with some spark plugs. So I'm going to take it from Ford's learning that that's a bad idea. So instead I found this like cast iron plumbing fitting that I welded on there actually really well, believe it or not. I was so proud of myself. It's like the nicest welds I've ever done on cast iron of all things. But I was able to get most of it. There was a spot on this side that I could not really get to because I couldn't get the torch in there to get the right angle on it. So I end up, as you can see, there's like all this like crap around it. That's just like muffler sealer, you know, leak sealer, just to kind of seal up a couple pinholes that I couldn't get. So I, don't have any leaks here. And yes, it looks bad, but at some point the turbo will be coming off the car. I'll explain that part towards the end of the video. But needless to say, I was able to adapt everything I need to the correct fittings, and it worked out so much better. No leaks. I've been driving around with these fittings in here, and full throttle, multiple pulls, and ain't nothing flying out. So on top of that, I put some heat shielding around each of these pieces to keep. Yeah, so look, that's cool to the touch. And I actually just had the car running not long ago, just to keep everything happy. So that is all fine and dandy there. And then I don't have the gauge on yet, but just like I did before, the gauge will go up here, sit on the windshield where it will be monitored by the GoPro. So everything is good. Even the temperature today is more favorable because it's not as hot. Still hot, just not as hot. And I revised the tune in Buster to allow it a ever so slightly air load when intake temps are higher, which is also why I have the car cooling down. I want the car to run as much boost as possible because I want to see the absolute highest boost I can see, for the current tune. So I made all of those changes to ensure this video was going to be worth it. So I think Buster's pretty much ready to rock. I'm gonna go ahead and get the hose out of here, close the hood up, put the gauge on, throw the laptop in. We're gonna go out and make a hit. See exactly what Buster's doing. Let's get to it. All right, everything's rolling. Let's rock. That was corny. All right, so we can go ahead and take a look at the data here of the run we just did. While not perfect, it wasn't exactly what I was wanting, it did still hit my max target boost pressure of 28, actually went a little bit above it, which is perfect because this is definitely on the high end of what most people would try to run with this turbo. So we're going to look at the first run here. I have 3 separate runs. We'll focus on the other 2 after this one. This is the run that you saw in the video. Drag strip mode, exhaust valves open, 3rd gear, stabbing the throttle, rolling into the boost. And you can see as soon as we get past 5,000, turbo goes full steam. That's where it hits its max boost over 28 PSI. And then if we take a really close look at the gauge from the exhaust, we can see that it peaked at about 43-ish PSI. So that is considerably higher than, that's a good 10 PSI higher than the results I got last time. So it's a bit higher than I was really expecting. That kind of, it makes more sense seeing it that high, but I was hoping it wasn't that high. With 28 PSI on the intake side and 43 PSI on the exhaust side, that gives us a pressure ratio of 1.5. So yeah, that's already in like the not so good zone. Anything above 1.5 is really pushing it. Though there are setups that will run 2-to-1 pressures, you definitely want to be on the other side of that scale. So we're already at 1.5, which is, not ideal. And as I said a moment ago, I did do 3 runs because I thought it would be kind of cool to see how the active exhaust affects this pressure ratio. So I did 2 more runs with the exhaust valves completely closed in quiet mode and with the exhaust in normal mode. So we'll take a look at normal mode first, and these were done all back to back. All 3 of these runs were done back to back, all in the same few minutes of time. The peak pressure for each of these runs were pretty much the same. So if we look at this run here, we can see the gauge goes up to about 44 to 45 PSI. Nothing else changed. The drive mode is still in drag strip mode, but I did change the exhaust valve to normal setting. So, it's like halfway closed. So then I did the same thing. I dropped down a couple gears right after that run. I put the exhaust in quiet mode. Exhaust valves completely shut. And if we look at the gauge, you can see that it spikes to like even 46, maybe even 47 PSI. Oh my goodness. That's not good. So with the exhaust in normal operation at these type of boost pressures, I'm over a 1.6 pressure ratio. Yikes. So those were not exactly what I was expecting. It's a bittersweet. Yes, I finally got this testing system working pretty good, but because I got it working pretty good, it unveiled the true data, which is not as good as the first readings I got, meaning I don't have as much headroom as I thought, but it's still pretty much where we kind of know this turbo taps out. So 40 PSI of drive pressure, roughly. That's a bit much coming out of there. It's a lot of pressure coming out of there. So you can see where this becomes a problem. But you can even see how the exhaust manipulates that pressure right there. We're talking about a 4 to 5 PSI difference between the exhaust valves fully closed and fully open, which is kind of cool. I was really excited to see that data. That also just tells you how much back pressure there is in the factory exhaust. And this isn't just your typical Ecoboost exhaust. Remember, Buster's an HPP Mustang, so this essentially has a Ford Performance exhaust with a Y-pipe, dual mufflers, active exhaust, already on the car. I would imagine running a catless off-road downpipe would definitely drop a few more PSI, get you closer to that 1 on a stock turbo. So maybe one day, maybe. We'll see how that goes. But remember how in the beginning of the video I mentioned that I'm going to be removing the turbo? Not only am I going to be removing it to better weld up that fitting and to just clean it up and recoat it with some ceramic paint coating, but I'm also going to do something really, really exciting. When I pull that turbo off, I'm gonna port it myself. I'm gonna try at least. And I'm gonna see, because there's a good amount. You ever looked at it? Like when I had it off, when I had to rebuild the engine, I looked in there, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of material here that can be removed. I mean, you can hog out the outlet here on the cold side. You can hog that out probably 2 or 3 millimeters easy. There is so much material there. So you can get better flow coming out, and to reduce the back pressure, you can definitely remove some material on the hot side. And while I have it off, I'm also probably just ever so slightly just clean up the exhaust ports on the head. That way that there's just optimal flow there, you know, just open them up just a smidge, because I know you can't do too much, but just a smidge, maybe a millimeter or so. Just open them up, smooth out the, you know, casting a little bit, and kind of get inside and just smooth it out just a smidge where I can reach. And I think that will help too. And then of course, after I do that, we can test the pressure ratio again, or the drive pressure ratio, and see where it falls. Hopefully at that point, we would be so much closer to that one number and still able to hit 30 PSI, 28, 30 PSI. So that would be cool. And, you know, maybe with a off-road downpipe, we could really push this turbo. Honestly, I think it's going to take all the above to be able to push this turbo optimally past 30 PSI into like the mid 30 PSI range to make the kind of power I want to make. If I could do that, I'd be so happy. So that's all coming down the line at some point, sooner or later, probably later than sooner. Only because Buster's running really good. I don't want to really screw with it too much right now. So I'm just going to take my time on that project. I'm not really in a rush to get that done. It's going to be time consuming. It's going to put Buster out of commission for a few days. When that happens, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I'm looking to make that video and get that done. But for now, I'm just still trying to optimize what I have. Because as you can see in my log, I'm still not holding boost pressure up high, because now I didn't even think about it. The car's set to only go to a 2.4 and a half or 2.46 air load, but at 28 psi you're upwards to a 2.5, 2.6 air load. So I have to adjust that now so the car will allow that extra air load to come in. Right now it's clamping itself off because it's like, hey, too much. So I have to adjust that so I can get that, you know, higher boost number in the upper RPMs where Buster can really boogie. But right now, all it's really doing is just adding crap tons of timing up top and, you know, spiking that high boost around 55 hundo, 55 to 6,000. Still got a lot of work there. And I think while I'm waiting, I also have some visual mods that I would like to get done just to take a break from beating on Buster and not pushing the engine too hard. Maybe start doing some aesthetic modifications, you know, very Karz Kreated stuff, custom one-off you ain't gonna see anywhere else. I think it would make Buster look unlike any other Mustang on the road. Okay, maybe not that. It would make it look a lot less like every other Mustang on the road, you know, give it a very unique flair that I have not personally seen anyone do, and I think it would be awesome looking on this car with the Kona blue and the gray accents. That's all I'm going to say right now. But that's probably going to be one of the bigger projects I work on next as I'm waiting to get the turbo project done. But that's pretty much all for now. So with that said, I guess it's going to wrap it up here for the video. Let me know what you think about the data that I found and, you know, kind of what the little turbo here is doing. Is it performing the way you thought? I mean, probably is. But let me know what you think. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap it up here for the video. And of course, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with everyone you know. If you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for next Karz Kreated video.